welcome in. September is almost here. It's just a few days away. I'm so excited for the Halloween season to start. Not just because I love the fall. I love the weather. I love the warm, fuzzy sweaters and the flavors and the smell and just haunted houses and everything that goes along with it. But I also love when it's not 100% humidity. So I'm super excited. If this is your first time tuning in, I'm Tony. Welcome in for another episode of October 365. And this week, we're going to take a trip to Salem, Massachusetts to light the Black Flame candle and talk all about Hocus Pocus. If you were anything like me, you grew up watching this movie hundreds of times probably. It was one movie that, even though I drove my parents crazy with it, they didn't mind that I watched it because it was kind of a nice vacation to some of the other stuff I watched in my young age. I absolutely love this movie, and there is a total resurfacing of the popularity of this film just happening right before our eyes. And we have a sequel book, we have an anniversary edition Blu-ray, we have exclusive Funko Pops coming out, which I try so hard not to collect them, but then there are just some where you just can't pass them up, like Dr. Ian Malcolm. I of course bought the sexy Dr. Ian Malcolm posed one. I mean, there's been a handful of them, but of course, I have to get the Sanderson sisters because it's just awesome. Spirit Halloween now even has costumes and like housewares that are Hocus Pocus themed. It's so, and I've seen a lot of like local artists and crafters like creating Hocus Pocus themed art, which is awesome. I love seeing this movie come back to life, and it's kind of reintroducing it to new generations of fans, which is excellent because I feel like a lot of Halloween films, they kind of stand the test of time. So if you love this movie as much as I do, then you will have no problem beating this Hocus Pocus quiz that I concocted for you. So are you ready? I'm going to jump right in. I'm going to do this kind of in the style of HQ trivia. I'm going to ask a question. It'll appear on the screen. I'll give you some multiple choices. What I will say is no cheating. I know it's a YouTube video. You can pause, you can search, but just do it for fun. And when you're done, comment on the video. Let me know how you did. Tell me your score. Brag about your score if you got 100. And if you got stumped on a question, tell me what it was. And if you have a question that you think will stump me, drop it in the comments because I like to get stumped. I have one of those memories when I watch a film. A lot of times I could probably like recite it backwards. And there's a handful of movies that I'm like that with, and this happens to be one of them. So it should make for a fun quiz. Okay, are you ready? We're gonna just jump right into it. Question number 1. Which Sanderson sister do we see first in the movie? So I know that everybody thinks of that iconic scene of Winifred opening up the window to say, oh, look, another glorious morning, makes me sick. But it's actually Sarah, right? We see her flying through the night sky, and we see her swoop down in the early morning hours next to a cottage window, about to lure another child into their doom. So if you guessed Sarah, you got it right. So you can give yourself a point. Okay. Question 2. What is Binks's full name? We know we call him Binks as the cat, but he actually has a full name. What is it? If you guessed Thackeray Binks, you got it right. They say that a bunch of times through the film, so hopefully these are not too tough yet. I'm gonna ask some tough ones in there though, so don't get too confident just yet. Okay, here we go. Question 3. When we see William Butcherson's grave, there's something written on the grave that Allison reads out aloud in the cemetery. What does it say? If you guessed William Butcherson, lost soul, you got it right. This poor guy, he had a really rough go of it, right? He was dating Winifred, and then he decided to fool around with Sarah. Okay, probably not his best decision, but he certainly paid for it. And funny thing about him and Doug Jones, who plays William Butcherson, is when I met Doug Jones years ago, I didn't know that he played him, and I was so excited to meet Doug Jones anyway because he's been just in so many movies. He's so awesome. And then all of a sudden, looking down at his table of merchandise and seeing that he was Billy Butcherson, I like lost my mind. There's definitely a really bad picture of me somewhere with him. He's like, I felt like 8 feet taller than I am. He was so sweet. I remember hugging him a lot and just talking about the movie, and he was really amazing. So, random bit of trivia for you. Okay, question 4. What is the name of the high school? If you guessed Jacob Bailey High School, you got it right. We see this a couple of times kind of like in flashes throughout the movie. I think you see it the first time when they kind of come out of class on Halloween Day and they're like throwing streamers and silly string and all this stuff. And I think that's why every kid wanted to go to high school in Salem growing up, because I don't know about you, but in New York public schools, they did not allow you to have silly string and have a total Halloween party. And my teachers did not tell me scary stories. It would be awesome if they would have. Okay, question 5. This is a pretty easy one, I think. How many years have the Sanderson sisters been dead? So Winifred says it herself. It's 300 years, right down to the day. And if you guess 300, you got it right. Don't get confused with 300, the Ahoo movie. Okay. Okay, question 6. When the teenagers lure the witches into the high school, Max gets on the intercom and he introduces himself as a radio personality that he makes up. Who does he say? He says, "I am your host." What name does he use? So if you're going to high school hell, you would definitely want Boris Karloff Jr. to be your guide. I don't know why, but I always love that quote in the movie. It never gained much popularity, but I always thought it was really funny. And what I always think is really weird is kind of how did they get into the high school at night on Halloween? Did they just not lock the school up? They kind of like, there was a lot of weird things that went on in Salem, right? So okay, 7. Ready for a stumper question? This one's tough. You're either going to know it or you don't. If you're like me and you've watched a movie so many times and you have a very keen eye for detail, you will get this. If not, don't worry. I'll let you make it up with a bonus question later on. What is Max Dennison's phone number? We see this 2 times in the movie. If you guessed 555-9142, you got it right. You can see this twice. Once when Max awkwardly hits on Allison in front of their entire class. Like, who does that? Who just gets up in the middle of the class and they're like, "In case Jimi Hendrix shows up tonight, here's my number." It's totally awkward and weird. But, I guess you can't blame a guy for trying. I don't know. But you see it again when she trick-or-treats at him and gives him back his own phone number. Obviously, she wasn't interested in his, laid-back, tie-dyed point of view. At least not at that time. Okay, finish this quote. Question 8. How many times I gotta tell you? My name ain't Ernie no more. This is ice. I didn't shave the back of my head for you guys. I love you, but I don't think I can really pull off that look. This bully, he just decided that Ernie wasn't a good name. All right, maybe it wasn't cool, but he really liked the name Ice so much that he shaved it into the back of his head. And I got an awesome picture at the location where they filmed that scene, so I will show you in just a little bit if you stay tuned. Okay, question 9. According to Danny, what is Max's Halloween costume? Poor Max, because he's just having the weirdest Halloween. He's away from his friends. He's in a new town. He just got rejected by a girl that he really likes. He doesn't have sneakers. And then, these bullies are making fun of him, and they're like, "What are you supposed to be, a new kid on the block?" And of course Danny is trying to come to his rescue. Her sweet little heart, she's all like thinking her big brother is the coolest, and she's like, "For your information, he's a little leaguer," which is totally mortifying to poor Max. He just really wants to go home at that point. So if you guessed little leaguer, you got it right. Earlier in the film, he does say that he's dressed as a rap singer to his dad, so obviously Danny didn't listen to that part. Okay, this is question 10, and don't worry, if you got lost in a question somewhere, I'm going to give you a bonus question, so you got this. What do the bullies ask for as a toll payment? They say, "Ding, ding, 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 stop and pay the toll, kid." They ask for some form of payment. What is it? If you guess 10 chocolate bars, no licorice, you got it right. All right. Bonus question. Are you ready for a bonus question? What heartthrob of the 90s was offered the role of Max Dennison and turned it down? At the time, he was busy hanging out with Johnny Depp in What's Eating Gilbert Grape. So if you guessed Leonardo DiCaprio, you got it right. And could you imagine if Leo was in this movie, how different it might be, just with a different cast? I always find that the casting is like the most important thing you can do in a movie. If you have the right players, movies become magic. And I think everything about this movie was so well done, well casted, and I don't know, I couldn't really imagine it any other way. So how'd you do? I hope that you got 100, and if you didn't, I hope that you were able to redeem yourself with that bonus question. But drop a comment, let me know how you did on my quiz. Hocus Pocus Quiz got your mind going and ready for the fall season, then you will love some of these pictures that I was able to capture on my most recent trip to Salem. I went and revisited the old filming locations from the movie, and there are some that are directly in town when you're there, and you can kind of, they're all like kind of within a walkable distance, and then there's a couple you have to drive to. So let's kind of start in the heart of Salem, and then we'll work our way out. Sound good? Okay. So right next to the Hawthorne Hotel, which is where, really, if you visited Salem before, it's where, it's this big, awesome hotel, but they have the Halloween party every single year. I'm pretty sure it's what they kind of modeled the town hall party after. Right next to the Hawthorne Hotel, you have the park, which actually is where Allison trick-or-treats the number back to Max, and right behind them there is the school. It's not a school anymore, it's actually an apartment building, but, it surprised me because I've been to Salem so many times, and I never realized that was the building, and then when I finally, looked at it, and I was like, oh my goodness, how did I walk by this so many times and just never realize it? So of course I couldn't resist snapping a picture. And listen, if you do go visit filming locations when it is like a public residence or a home or something, just be courteous, obviously, but I did want to snap a picture in front. And you can go into the park, which is it's across a very short street, and that iconic shot of the witches looking at the high school, and they say, "It is a prison for children," which is one of my favorite lines in the movie. I think it's so funny. You can actually kind of reenact that shot, which is so awesome. Okay, so now you can walk a few blocks towards the main Essex Mall strip area, which is kind of where Salem has all of its, it has a lot of its shops and restaurants, and it's a very hopping little area. And when you're walking by there, you can go to the town hall where they have the Halloween party. So in case you don't remember, it's where the witches show up and they cast a spell on the entire crowd to make them dance until they die. And so you can actually go inside now. It's a historical tour. It's not a Hocus Pocus tour. However, there are Hocus Pocus tours that happen now in town that you can actually pay somebody to take you to the filming location. From the town hall, you can actually just walk up a few blocks and you can see Allison's house, and it looks exactly the same as it does in the movie. The only thing that's different is that it's not lit up, the same way. Obviously, they used some movie magic there, but also in the film, they use they have the hay bales in the front where Danny's crying, and Max gives her the whole "something flew across the moon, forgive me because I'm your brother" speech. But it's a landmark, I believe, and it's the Ropes Mansion. It looks really awesome, so obviously I couldn't resist going to visit there. I didn't get any candy, though. So there's a couple of locations that you'll have to drive to, but they're totally worth it. One of them is the Salem Pioneer Village, which is actually the beginning of the film, where we see Thackeray Binks and, Emily is kind of getting lured away from her home, and, that whole opening scene was filmed in Pioneer Village on site. I didn't visit Pioneer Village this time because it was kind of soggy outside. I've actually been there a bunch of times before. It's an awesome place, especially if you're traveling with young ones and you want to start teaching them about history. It's a cool place to see. It's a low admission cost to kind of go and frolic around the area, so definitely recommend checking that out as well. And I don't know about you, but I cannot think about this movie without thinking about the Dennison house, right? It's awesome. It's that top, Max's room was awesome in the attic, but then they had like that peak at the top where the witches blow the top of the house off. And so I'm going to say this is a private residence, so if you do go to visit it, be courteous. But I was lucky to get over there and get some pictures without disturbing the people who live in the home. It is on a beautiful street. It's about maybe a 10 to 15 minute drive from where the heart of all the Salem activities are. And it is right on the water, and it's up a hill, and the house is in the same condition, at least exterior is in the same condition as the movie. And so looking at it, it's just, it's mind blowing to see it. And I loved everything that they did with this. Now, I don't know if they filmed the actual inside shots, like Max's bedroom and stuff. I don't know if that was filmed on a set versus like actually somewhere in the house. Some of it does look like it was filmed in the house, but it's amazing, and I wish that the owners would make tours, but I'm sure they probably don't want all these people visiting their home. Okay, and then in the beginning of the movie, now I know they actually used two different things, and they did use obviously a stage for some of the locations, like the end battle, between the witches and the kids. But the actual cemetery in the beginning of the film, where Max first leaves school, he's bummed because he just got rejected by Allison. He rides his bike through the cemetery, and it's where he encounters the bullies for the first time and gets his cross trainer stolen. That is a real cemetery. It is located in Marblehead, Massachusetts, and it is beautiful. It is it's so well preserved, and when you get there, you have to walk up this giant staircase to get inside, and and then that shot of Max, like when he looks out over the top of the cemetery, that's a real shot. Like it's absolutely beautiful. It is just so it's so stunning, the way that it's preserved. And you will see Hocus Pocusites walking around in this place, like trying to pick out the filming locations, and it's awesome. I heard a lot of YouTube videos playing and people playing the music from Hocus Pocus and stuff. So of course I couldn't resist. This is where Max comes and he first rides his bike up, and I actually went through and was able to match up the stones to find that exact spot, and then he comes up and then he kind of turns the corner, and that's where he encounters the bullies, and they pop up from this spot here. Now, this one took me a long time because there's a few spots in the cemetery that actually look very similar in the way that the backgrounds are. Some of the way they make the shots, I think they kind of move the camera back and forth, but it was so awesome to see it. And if you just like cemeteries in general, I love, like I said, I love history, so I love visiting some like old cemeteries, and so this one is just beautiful to visit, even if you're traveling with someone who doesn't love Hocus Pocus the way you do, but you want to go see it. I'm sure they might just enjoy the views. It is gorgeous. So I hope you get there sometime. If you have, tell me all about your experience. Please don't forget to comment with your quiz scores. And if you got stumped on a question, tell me which one it was. I feel like the phone number might stump a couple of people, but I hope you had fun, and I hope you're ready to kick off the Halloween season. I am so ready to kick off the Halloween season, and I have a lot of content coming. September, October are my most active months. I try to go to as many haunted houses as I can. There are some that I have been to in previous years that I will definitely make some videos about. I think I might, I don't know, maybe at some time I'll do like my top 5 or something. I'm trying to head to a new one this year, and then of course I couldn't resist buying tickets for Halloween Horror Nights because it is my favorite event of the year. It's Universal just does the most amazing job, and I'm blown away every year, and this year's lineup is so amazing. I'm counting down the days already. I'm going in early October, so I will definitely be sharing a lot of pictures and maybe some video snippets, I don't know, something from the trip, so I hope that you'll tune in for future videos. Hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying my content so far, and until next time, stay spooky, and I'll see you soon, and let's have a kick-ass Halloween season together. Bye!